This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, it is so great to have you. I'm Antoinette, a New Zealander living in Germany. So I thought it was about time for another what not to do in Germany video. I've made so many of these. I've been living in Germany for over 10 years now, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and I have made a lot of videos talking about my mistakes. And I used to get really stressed when I would do things wrong in Germany, but now I'm just like, oh well, I can just make a video talking about it. So before I continue with this video, I would like to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Skillshare. If you're not already familiar with Skillshare, it is an online learning community for creatives and curious people with thousands of online classes in a wide variety of creative subjects. These subjects include film and video, creative writing, design, photography, freelancing, and so much more. It's a wonderful place to explore new skills, deepen your existing passions, or get lost in creativity. I've been using Skillshare for a couple of years now, and I actually find it a really great way just to wind down in the evenings. So when my kids are in bed, that's my time, and I want to be relaxing, but I still want to be doing something productive. So instead of maybe watching some kind of a movie on Netflix or something like that, I will often search for a really interesting Skillshare class, and I will take that class, and I end up feeling super inspired. A Skillshare class I really enjoyed recently was with Nathaniel Drew. He's quite a well-known YouTuber, and his class was all about how to speak confidently on camera. So it was basically a guide for content creators. I found his class really insightful. He shared some really great, really valuable tips and advice. So if you're interested in exploring your creativity, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click on the link in my description will receive a free 1-month trial to Skillshare. Okay guys, so let's get into it. One of the things you should not do in Germany is waste a shop assistant's time, or anyone's time for that matter, but I am going to be talking specifically about shopping in Germany. So I have mentioned in previous videos that the shopping sort of scene, culture in New Zealand is very different to shopping in Germany. And so in New Zealand, I'm pretty sure the shop assistants are paid on a commission base. Probably not every shop assistant, but I know that many of them are paid extra if they sell a certain amount of products. So they tend to be extra helpful and sometimes even a little bit pushy. I don't really like this style of shopping. I'm the sort of person who knows exactly what I want when I'm going shopping, and I like to be kind of left alone to make my own decisions. And some people are more sort of indecisive and they need help, and they like the help of the shop assistant, and in that case it's great. In Germany, the style of shopping is very different. The shop assistant just kind of leaves you alone, lets you make your own decision, doesn't follow you around the shop, doesn't put pressure on you. They may ask you, can I help you, if you are looking a little bit maybe confused, or they see you've been searching for something for, you know, a long period of time, but mostly they kind of leave you alone to make your own decision. So I have witnessed a couple of times German shop assistants getting a little bit sort of annoyed, a little bit flustered, kind of just uncomfortable when people from Anglo-Saxon countries are wanting this 5-star service, and they're asking them a million questions and expecting them to bend over backwards to serve them, and it's just something that's not done in Germany. And I've seen this from sort of an outside perspective, where I've been in a shop and I've heard maybe somebody from an English-speaking country doing this. And I've also experienced it with a friend of mine. I'm not going to name any names, maybe she's watching my videos. It was actually an American friend of mine who was not in Germany for very long, and we were shopping for souvenirs. She wanted to take some German souvenirs back home with her, and we went around quite a few different souvenir shops, and each shop she went into, she would ask the shop assistant to show her all the items and explain what they were, and, you know, take them down from like a high shelf, and, you know, she'd be looking at them and saying, this is nice, can you show me that one, maybe show me that one, can you tell me a bit about this? So I remember in one particular shop she was looking for a traditional German beer mug, and these were really, really nice beer mugs, and they were quite expensive. And so she was asking the shop assistant lots and lots of questions. I could see the shop assistant was very happy to help her at the beginning, and he was telling her all about the beer mug and where it originated, and he really thought that she was going to buy this beer mug. I could tell. She was chatting to him about these beer mugs for, I'm pretty sure it was about 15 minutes. And at the end of the 15 minutes, he said to her, so are you going to buy this? And she said, I don't know. I'll have to have a think about it. I might come back later. And I remember he looked so annoyed, and rightly so, because she just wasted 15 minutes of his time. I was actually feeling really embarrassed because she kept doing that in every single shop, and she didn't click on to the fact that they were getting really annoyed. And it's kind of like, you know, if you're not genuinely interested in buying a product, just don't waste their time because they've got other things to do. So something else not to do in Germany is walk into somebody's home wearing your outside shoes. This is a huge no-no in Germany, and I do think it is considered quite rude in many cultures, but in Germany it is extremely rude to just walk into somebody's house and not take off your shoes. So in New Zealand you would mostly ask if you can leave your shoes on or not, but in Germany you have to take off your shoes. Germans just instinctively know to take their shoes off before walking inside. I've talked about the fact that many Germans have indoor shoes, house shoes, and outside shoes, and even sometimes when you visit a German's home, they will have house shoes that you can wear for their guests. This is quite a German thing. My daughter Amelia is in the 3rd grade here in Germany, and they have school sport a couple of times a week. This is during school hours. During the winter they do sport indoors, and she has to have a pair of shoes, sport shoes, specifically for inside, and she is not allowed to wear these shoes outside at all. And so I found that kind of interesting because, you know, you are spending quite a bit of money on sports shoes that are only allowed to be worn inside this building, and then she has to have another pair of shoes if they are doing sport outside, which, you know, I found that kind of interesting. This wouldn't be the case in New Zealand. You just have one pair of sports shoes that you can wear inside and outside. Also at my little boy's 5th birthday party, all of the kids just instinctively knew to take off their shoes when they came inside. So the kids played outside in the garden, and they also played inside, so they kept coming in and out and in and out, and each time they would take their shoes on and off and on and off, and it was no problem for them because that's what they were used to at home, and they just instinctively knew how to do that. So I was really impressed. I thought that was really, really great that they respected our home and they knew to take their shoes off when they came inside. Okay guys, so something else you shouldn't do in Germany is not being respectful of somebody's personal space. So let me explain. In New Zealand, for example, we like to hug people a lot. Say you're walking down the street and you see somebody you haven't seen for a long time, and this person doesn't necessarily have to be a good friend. It might be sort of an old friend or like an acquaintance, and you might say, hey, good to see you, and give them a hug, and it's totally normal, totally acceptable. In Germany, this would just be stepping the line. This would be too much. I've actually experienced this a couple of times, and it's always really awkward and really embarrassing. I remember years ago going to a barbecue in Germany. It was a friend of my husband's. He was having a barbecue, and I remember meeting his girlfriend, my husband's friend's girlfriend, and we were chatting a little bit, and you know, she was really nice. I remember seeing her quite a while later. I bumped into her on the street, like not literally bumped into her, but I saw her on the street, and I was like, hi, how's it going? And I went to give her a hug, and she kind of pulled back, and I was like, oh, okay, I've crossed the line. I don't know her that well, but you know, I visited her boyfriend's house and we were talking, and she was really nice to me, and I thought that, you know, we knew each other well enough to greet each other like that, but obviously not. That was crossing the line. So yeah, I learned that very early on in Germany. Just don't invade people's personal space unless you know them like really well. You'll greet like a really good friend if you meet them on the street with a hug. You'll say, hey, good to see you, give them a big hug. Like Germans do that. I see that all the time, but they wouldn't greet acquaintances like that. Also in Germany, a friend is very different to an acquaintance. Like in English speaking countries, we throw around the word friend just really, really loosely. So we would call an acquaintance a friend probably, and a German would only call a friend if they really knew them very well and they've known them for quite a long time. So I think that's where it comes from. I think Germans really value their friendships, and it takes a while to get to know Germans and form that friendship. Also, something else you shouldn't do in Germany, and this is another kind of subtle cultural difference. I have experienced this before. I have made this mistake, and that is not taking no for an answer. So as I've talked about, Germans can be very direct. They say what they mean and they don't beat around the bush. So just say you're invited to a German's place for dinner and they have cooked for you, they're serving up the meal, and they'll say to you, do you want any more? And you'll say no, and they will respect that no, and they won't pile more on your plate. In New Zealand, it's very different. We do not take no for an answer, especially when it comes to food. In New Zealand, if you're invited to somebody's place and they've cooked for you and they're serving up on your plate, they'll be piling more and more and more up on your plate, and even if you're saying no, that's enough, we just don't take no for an answer because we think that you are being polite. It's just part of Kiwi culture that I know a lot of Germans find super annoying, including my husband. He found this really annoying that Kiwis, New Zealanders, we just don't say what we mean. So even if we're really hungry, we'll say, oh no, that's enough, because we expect that person to keep piling the food on the plate, because it's just what we do in New Zealand. So I've made the mistake of not taking no for an answer when a German has said no to me, particularly when it comes to food, you know, just piling it up on the plate, and they're like, that's enough, no, I don't want any more, and I don't believe them and think that they're trying to be polite. That's just an example. So Germans are, as I've said, very direct. They say exactly what they mean. With Germans, there's just no beating around the bush. There's no guessing. There's no presuming. It's either yes or no. So make sure next time if a German says no, you respect that. So anyway guys, that's all I've got for this video. Those were some of the things that you should not do in Germany. If you're German and you're watching this, do you agree with me? Do you think that, you know, what I talked about is right? Would these things bother you if somebody didn't respect your personal space, if they didn't take no for an answer, if they wore shoes inside your home, the shop assistant thing? I'm sure you wouldn't waste a shop assistant's time. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you are an expat, a foreigner like myself, have you ever made some of these mistakes? Let me know, I'd love to hear your stories. Also, I just wanted to mention that if you are interested in exploring your creativity, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click on the link in my description will receive a free 1-month trial to Skillshare. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I would love you to consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye!